Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're putting on our biological detective hats to uncover a hidden rule of the natural world, how the literal physical shape of a living thing dictates whether it lives or dies. It's a fascinating, high-stakes game of survival, so let's get right into it.
All right, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with structure and function basics, compare microbes and plants, work through a practice scenario, do a quick misconception check, and wrap up with an exit question.
Section 1. Structure and Function Basics.
So, how do structures help living things survive and reproduce? I know, it sounds like a pretty basic question, right? But honestly, it's the anchor of all biological life. Every single curve of a leaf, every little joint in an insect's leg is a meticulously crafted tool for survival. If the tool is wrong, well, the organism simply doesn't make it. The environment is ruthless, and evolution has fine-tuned these biological designs over millions of years to make sure they are the exact right fit for their specific ecosystem.
And that brings us to the core of it all, the structure-function relationship. Simply put, an organism's physical shape dictates its specific job. Shape dictates job. Picture a woodpecker. Its beak is a specialized, shock-absorbing chisel perfectly structured to hammer into solid bark to find insects. Or look at a broad plant leaf. It's basically a sprawling, green solar panel structured to catch the maximum amount of sunlight in a heavily shaded forest. If you were to swap their structures, neither survives. A broadleaf can't chisel wood, and a beak definitely can't photosynthesize. The job just doesn't get done.
Section 2. Comparing microbes and plants. Now, what's really wild is that this golden rule applies across completely different scales of life. On one extreme, we have microbes, like bacteria and viruses. Their structure is incredibly minimalist, often just a single cell or a tiny microscopic protein coat. But that minimalist structure perfectly matches their function. A lot of them have these specialized spike proteins that act exactly like lockpicks, allowing them to rapidly invade host cells, bypass immune systems, or just endure really harsh extreme environments. Contrast that with plants. Plants rely on highly complex structural adaptations. We're talking sprawling root systems gripping the soil, intricate vascular veins pumping water, and rigid stems reaching for the sky. Their function is entirely different, anchoring into the earth, drawing up deep water, and outcompeting neighbors for sunlight over decades or even centuries. So you have simple structures for rapid, aggressive invasion and complex structures for long-term ecosystem dominance.
Section 3. Worked Practice Scenario.
Okay, let's actually put this into practice and look at a real-world scenario together. Imagine a healthy, thriving plant that suddenly gets exposed to a disease-causing microbe lingering right there in the soil. Within days, the evidence is pretty clear. The plant's leaves begin to wilt, they fundamentally change their physical shape, and they develop these dead, dark spots. Ultimately, the plant stops growing altogether and fights for its life. We basically have a microscopic structure actively dismantling a massive, complex structure. So how do we explain the biological mechanics of this collapse?
Let's kind of think aloud here and solve this step by step. First, identify the structure under attack. In this case, it's the plant's leaves. Second, note the change. The leaves aren't just sick in some abstract, vague way. Their physical form is visibly wilted and spotted. The microbe has physically altered their architecture at a cellular level. Third, and this is the most important part, deduce the loss of function. Because the leaf's physical structure is compromised, it can no longer act as a flat, efficient solar panel to capture sunlight. And as we know, no sunlight means no food, which means systemic failure for the entire plant. The microbe didn't just magically make the plant sick, it broke the physical structure, which in turn destroyed the function.
Section 4. The Misconception Check.
Before we move on, take a quick second to really think about this trap that a lot of people fall into. If a living thing's structure is altered or damaged, can its function remain exactly the same? Like, if a physical part changes, can the job it does stay perfectly intact?
Well, the answer is a resounding no. A really common myth is that structural changes, like a wilting leaf or, say, a bird with a slightly bent wing, are just cosmetic issues, and that the organism will simply adapt and function normally. But the scientific fact is that form and function are strictly, permanently linked. Think about it. A bent wing changes the aerodynamics entirely. The bird can no longer fly efficiently, which means it can't hunt for food or escape predators. Any change to the structure directly alters or outright destroys its ability to function and survive. You absolutely cannot change the structure without changing the function.
Section 5. Exit question. Based on everything we've unpacked today, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder.
How can a microscopic, perfectly simple structure, like a single virus or a solitary bacterium, cause such massive, system-wide devastation to complex plants, vast ecosystems, and even global human populations? Think about the chain reaction. Think about how altering one tiny structure can cascade into the total destruction of a massive function. Keep that in mind the next time you look at the natural world around you. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.